Hey, it's math time. You ready to add and subtract? There are a whole lot of numbers. We're getting smarter with every math fact. Hey, welcome back to math. I'm happy to see you. Well, yesterday we were keeping track of information using a table. Today we're going to still keep track of information. We're going to be tracking data, but we're not using a table. Instead, we're using a graph. For a graph, you need certain things, otherwise it's not a graph. So if we're making a graph, we have to have a title. That's right, we have to tell people what it is we're graphing. We also have to have categories. So if we're graphing kinds of birds, we'd have to say what kinds of birds we're graphing. And the last thing that you really have to have when you're making a graph is something called a scale. Now, a scale that on a graph is not like a scale that you weigh yourself with. A scale on a graph tells you how many things you have in each category. Here, I'm going to show you using Skittles. Today I'm going to Alright, here we have our Skittles. As you can see, I opened up a package of Skittles and then I sorted them by color. So I have yellow, orange, green, and purple Skittles. Now before I can graph these Skittles, I'm going to have to know how many I have of each one. So let's see here, 2, 4, 6. I have 6 yellows. 2, 4, oh, just 4 orange, and then 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 green ones. Oh, that's funny. 6, 4, and 10. Those are all even numbers. Let's see if we also have an even number of purple ones. Let's count those. Here we go. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Oh, odd number, 15. All right, so I know how many of each type of Skittles I have. Now I'm ready to turn this information or this data into a graph. Here we go. Now, as I said at the beginning, in order to make a graph, we have to have certain things. Right now, I just have a piece of paper that has a bunch of boxes on it. This is not a graph. In order to make it into a graph, we first need to add a title so that people know what we're talking about. And since today we're talking about the color of Skittles, I'm just going to put Skittles colors. Now people know that what I was doing was looking at a package of Skittles and graphing how many of each color I had. Now the next thing we need the categories. That means what we're graphing in each column. And these categories are just going to have color names because that's what we're graphing. We had orange. It does not matter what order you put these in. You do not have to put these from least to greatest. It really is okay. We had purple. We had green, and we had yellow Skittles. Okay, right now I'm getting really close. I almost have everything I need in order to make a graph. The last thing I need is what we call a scale. Now, a scale measures how many of each color or whatever it is you're graphing you have. And the scale is usually going to be on the side of the graph, and it's basically just numbering the boxes so that you can easily tell how many you have instead of having to count 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. So the scale always starts out at the very bottom corner with a 0. Because if there's nothing in this box, you have 0 of that item. And then it goes up and it numbers by ones. Now a scale on a graph does not always have to go by ones, but this one is going to. And then I just number until I run out of lines. So I want you to notice something. I want you to notice how I lined up my numbers. The numbers on my scale are lined up with the top line of each box. That way I know that if this box is colored into that first line, that's one item in that column. If it's colored in all the way up to this line right here, then I would know that that's 10 items in that column. Also, I want you to notice how far up my scale goes. My scale goes from 0 to 18, which means that if I had more than 18 Skittles that were orange, I may have to use a different scale. Sometimes the scale could go by 2s or by 10s or by 100s. It just depends on how many things you are graphing. Okay, now for this graph that I am making today, I am going to use different colors to color in these columns here. I have orange for the orange, purple, yellow, and green. And that's what I'm going to use in order to show how many of each color I had. Okay, so first, orange. When we counted the orange Skittles, I had 4 of them. So that means I'm just going to go ahead and color in 4 of these boxes because each box represents 1 Skittle. So here we go. I'm coloring in my graph to show how many orange Skittles I had. Notice how I'm not scribbling and making a gigantic mess. You want this to be nice and neat. You want anybody in the world to be able to come in, sit down, look at your graph, and tell what it says. So the next color that we're going to graph, purple. Alrighty, here we go. We had 15 purple Skittles. Now I could just sit and go one by one and count these boxes. 1, 2, 3. But wait, I have a scale, which means that I can take this column and follow it all the way up until I hit where the 15 is. And boom, I already know automatically how big, wow, that's big, how big I need to make my purple column in order to show that I had 15 purple Skittles. All right, here I go. Now I'm just going to color it in. Now, I wouldn't have to color these in order to show my data. I could do a bunch of different things. You could draw little pictures in each box to show how many you had, like perhaps you just want to make circles to go all the way up. You could do that. Or you could put little X's in the boxes. Some people do graphs like that just to show that this is how many you have. I don't have to color them in, but you can if you want to, and so that's what I'm doing today. Alrighty, now our green Skittles. Here we go. Let's see, we have 10 green Skittles. So let's color it in. Hey, I'm just going to go up this column to where the number 10 is. Over here, follow that line across, and boom. That's going to be how high this column is colored in. This will show that I had 10 green Skittles. And my last column is the yellow column. And I had 6. I had 6 yellow Skittles. So here we go. I went to where the 6 was, followed that line across, and boom. It really makes it easy when you have the scale on your graph. You don't have to sit and count by ones. Makes things a lot quicker. Now, once you get your graph all colored in, it's really cinchy, in my opinion, to look and answer questions about it. Just by looking at it, boom, I already know that orange had the least. I know that purple had the most. I know that green had more than yellow. So it's kind of simple to answer questions. You could also answer questions like, how many less orange were there than yellow? Well, look at this. The yellow goes up to 6. Boom, you can see easily it's just 2 because there are just 2 boxes left empty. Now you can also tell how many more purple you had than green quite easily. You just go to the end of the green and then you count to the end of the purple. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I had 5 more purple than green. Making a graph is not too difficult, and I like reading graphs because I think it makes the data easier to understand. Well, I hope you learned a lot about making a graph today. Now, why don't you go practice by doing the activity that I attached to this video. Thanks for watching. Good luck graphing. Bye.